Put your headphones on and plug in. You're listening to Soundbox Reviews First Effect with Bolivar T, Caceres and Blair Kerr. Soundbox Reviews is a blog and podcast that provides news and reviews on newly released tracks so listeners can contemplate if a song is worth their time. First Effect is a branch off, giving listeners Bolivar T, Caceres and Blair Kerr's first impressions on newly released tracks with a kick. To check out our latest review and podcast on Pink Venom by Blackpink, visit soundbox-reviews at blogspot.com. Without further mixing, let's skip over to Soundbox Reviews First Effect with Bolivar T. Caceres and Blair Kerr, Season 1, Episode 4. There Goes the Neighborhood by Underdog. This episode brought to you by Yin Yang Productions, where order and chaos creates art. By Yin Yang Productions. Balance delivered.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like to welcome you aboard today's flight. Hey!
It came as kind of a shock. Well, it started with the neighbors down the block. Big motorcycles, heavy metal rock. Steppenwolf and ZZ Top, yeah. There goes the neighborhood. They want peace and quiet. That's why I moved to the woods. Hot dogs without music. So the way we out, I was just thinking of music and flower, flower. Rock and rollers and bikers, hot rodders too. Know what the heck I was gonna do. I had to sell my place and move out of state. I wish to shut the hell up. Yeah, that'd be great. There goes the neighborhood. I want peace and quiet. That's why I moved to the woods. Up cars and loud music till the wee wee hours. I was just thinking folk music and flower power. There goes the neighborhood. I was quiet streets, not like crazy town. Calling the cops won't do any good. Can't stop the crazy people from hanging round. There goes the neighborhood. Someone who peace and quiet. Much like Bolivar T. This place is too meaning to wild life. Rock and roll. You love me, yeah.
It's been a while. Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Soundbox Radio.
So, bro, how you been? How's everything going?
Chilling, like a villain, relaxing, getting these millions.
Oh
Nah,
man,
just
that sounds amazing.
no,
Actually,
just making ends meet. We're making it work.
nice.
Survival of the fittest. All that,
Yeah, all that good stuff.
all that.
All right, bro. So you're ready? The paperboy is here.
What?
The news. I got that news, baby. Some music news straight from the paperboy. Ready?
Sure, let's go.
All right, then let's get smoking.
Shazam.
News with Bolivar Caceres and Blair Kerr. Soundbox Reviews. In music news, there's a lot been going on, a lot of funny stuff, a lot of great music coming out right now. And I always feel like when it comes to the fall, especially September, October is where good music comes out.
I agree.
Yeah, you feel the same way?
hmm
But in saying that, we had some we had Jid do his first NPR Tiny Desk. Were you able to check that out?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely very underrated artist, I think. Like, he is a name that is brought up, but at the same time, maybe I fully haven't done my homework or I've always just disregarded him from early on, thinking he was just like a Kendrick clone or something.
It was something that I can't stop listening to, and I agree with you. He has been underrated, but I think he came out with a Mike Tyson punch with this one.
Yeah.
And talking about good music, staying in line with that, Kenny Beats, we mentioned that he released his album in episode 3, and I had the chance to listen to it. It's just a smooth album, very classical hip hop, something you can just play in the background, and there's a little bit of skits in there. I'm playing that interchangeably with Jid's NPR Tiny Desk right now.
No, yeah, that Kenny Beats, like, I didn't even know it was Kenny Beats. Like, that's how I'm not saying that, he's great, but it's like it was so just like quintessential hip hop old school sound. I'm like, what are you playing? Like
Right.
MF Doom, Madlib type beat, and it's like, nah, it's all Kenny Beats. It's like,
It's
what?
all
Like, that
Kenny
sound like a radio station, bro. I felt like you went on Pandora. Every song sound like a whole different thing, but it's still in line, and you're just like, yo, you could just have Kenny Beats radio and literally just only have that on repeat, and you would think you're still listening to new shit. And
right.
it's like, just back to back to back, just flow.
What I really liked about it too is I came into it expecting him to do like collabs, almost like on
Yeah, I was like, where's the features, where's this and that? And it's like, nah, I just want y'all to hear what I want y'all to hear.
yeah. Now the U.S. Space Force just released their song, and I guess it's supposed to sound American, supposed to inspire you to uh traverse the universe.
That shit is kind of goofy, and it's like, but it's supposed to be like that when it's oh, anthem of this thing, anthem of that. If it's they ain't gonna hire no fucking tasteful musical people and be like, yo,
I
Space
felt like
Force,
I
let's
was
go.
listening to some Nazi like some
Bro,
Korean
North
dictator.
Korean, fucking Kim Jong, whoever. Space is the place. Let's go.
He have R. Kelly and his ongoing issues. I guess I wonder what your thoughts are about this, but
Hmm.
his prison account, money that he's saved up or have in his commissary, I think he has 30,000. Will be used to pay for victims and used as a restitution. What are your thoughts on that?
What's the amount?
30,000 he has in
Bro,
his
why
yeah.
why would he just have 30,000? Like, that's not nothing compared to probably what he ever made,
Yeah,
right?
that's not
But
normal.
yeah, but it's like you knew they was gonna try to get it some way or another. Like, you know,
Yeah, he tried to
how did
keep
you
it.
not think they were gonna still try to keep getting stuff from you?
And I just also feel like this is what news tends to focus on, right? And go back to we were just talking about Bjork and like showing our excitement. Bjork is not on the front page of any of these news cycles when it comes to
Mhm.
music news. You go
You
on
wouldn't
Pick,
even know she exists if you didn't care.
right, or even Kenny Beats to that extent. This is a
Bjork
great.
needs some drama in her life. Let her go back and beat some paparazzi ass like she used to back in the day, bro. Bro, there's videos of her just like wailing on fucking news reporters and shit. She'll just be walking all nice and calm. They'll ask her a stupid question like, "What?" And it's just start going off like
but
MMA,
she,
bro.
but yeah, man, that's all I got with the news, bro.
Yeah.
Sweet. News with Bolivar Caceres and Blair Kerr. Soundbox Reviews.
Get ready to listen to the supersonic sounds of Boston's very own Underdog with gut-shaking hits from their new album Ether Dome. Together for the first time in album format, Scott Ferguson, Brent Carlson, Tom Kelly, Aram and hit songs like Susie My Dear, There Goes the Neighborhood, Underground Rock Band Blues, and so much more. Available on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and everywhere you listen to music. Just turn on your radio. But why wait? Get yourself a hard copy of Ether Dome today for only $10. Rush delivery if you order today.
Have you had a chance to listen to Underdog's song "There Goes the Neighborhood"?
I think your cat took a poop. And they hit it right on the mark, bro. That that you hear the name Underdog, you hear that song, it sounds like the Underdogs,
Yeah,
and you know, humble dudes, cause that's could be in any rock playlist and just like blend right in, fit in to the mix.
I agree with you here. The song is really cool. You really get this vibe from just
Hmm.
the song about the artist that they're like cool, humble guys. You know, they're just out to make some rock music. And I think "There Goes the Neighborhood" is a great example of what they present in their whole album Ether Dome. Just fun, full of passion, full of energy, and just
Hmm.
I hate to be so trite about it, but it just straight rocks, man.
For sure, I agree. And we're talking about it a bit and how it really feels like it just it can fit into a Tony Hawk soundtrack, or a little montage scene in like a you know maybe like a high school angst teen movie, and it's like they're kind of in that
Right,
pocket of sound, like
right,
growing up, but they're already there, and they're just like leading the way, like, hey,
right.
come on, let's go, kids, it's time to rock.
I kind of have the same feeling of this kind of
Mm,
every time I listen to their songs, this like rock, almost like Richard Linklater type of movie. You know, he directed School of Rock, he directed Slackers, those type of indie coming of age stories. I really, when I hear their music, I receive
yeah, it's
that
when
vibe.
you feel like you're pulling from life, and you're like, oh, what is the soundtrack to my life? Who's gonna lead the way? Who's gonna show me how to be a badass?
Right, and it's Underdog, and it's Ether Dome, and they're gonna show you the way. You gotta listen to it. Is I think it's a very cool album, and it's one of those albums that you can just play in the background. But what also it kind of sets up a different vibe. Like if you kind of down, or if you know your environment's kind of stale, like I feel, put on Underdog, put on There Goes the Neighborhood, put on Susie My Dear. You know, you put on one of these tracks and you're just like
Mm.
your energy goes up. I think it's all packaged well and just gives you that great feeling of nostalgia. And I think a lot of what sets the mood right with Underdog is how eclectic their sound is. Um, how they're bringing in so many different vibes. You have this grunge feel, this garage feel, this punk feel, this kind of like we're talking about this West Coast skater feel. But it's
Mhm.
also indie rock and heavy metal, and it's also hard rock. And I
Mhm.
just think all that blending in with the lyrics being so thought provoking, so often talking about hippie culture, often talking about just being free and finding peace. And you find that
Mhm.
kind of those ideas here in There Goes the Neighborhood.
Like,
Hmm.
if they were a legacy act of some sort, this is the soundtrack for that. Like, oh, we want to hear that, that Underdog put that album on, and this is it.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
name any group that you like, and it's like you'll remember a specific album and be like, oh, that's how I got into them. It's like you think Underdog, you wouldn't even know they were underdogs if they didn't call themselves underdogs. Like you would literally think they're just in the mix with all these other bigger bands or same
Exactly.
range bands or even more underground than them, more underdog than them, and you're just like, yo, they're there, they're living proof. Like rock is not dead.
Rock is not dead, and although I love the name Underdog, they're definitely like you're
It's a
saying,
great name
they're not underdogs.
by any means,
And I think
but it's a dope name.
one thing you said is that they're purists, and I agree with
I
that.
consider them that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And in a way, also, if we can stay in the ist kind of idea, they're naturalist, right?
Mhm.
Their sound sounds live. Their sound sounds like at home.
They're really in the studio or in the garage or in open air, just like really jamming out. Maybe have some beers in hand or smoking something, who knows? Not like, oh, we just decided we're going to be a band. All our instrumentals come straight from the internet and we're just going to lay, you know, vocals over it. No, they're really doing this. Like
Right,
what's dope about them? They look like their music. Like, the package, like when we're talking like the package presentation, all that, it's like you see the guys and like they this is them. They did like you don't have to wonder like I wonder how they sound. You
right.
kind of get it.
It's unintentional too, I believe, maybe, hopefully.
Mm.
I don't know. But like if it's not
No,
unintentional,
yeah,
it's
they just
smooth.
naturally ooze style. Like I don't think they're really trying to put on an act or nothing. It's like, yep,
Right.
you know,
It's just so cool. I know I can use better words, but like does there need to be a better word than cool? Like it's just so cool.
there's no explanation needed. Look, what who was it? Was it Bryn who says like we're trying to make it sound cool, man? It's like you know,
Right.
you're not trying, you're doing it. You're
You're
doing
doing
it.
it right. It's working. It's amazing. I want to skate right now and listen to Underdog.
Yeah, their album would definitely be, on our iPod or something, back in the day.
Right, right.
If we
Uh,
knew about them sooner and be, have a little skate sesh, go down to a skate park or just street skate cruise.
and listen to some Underdog. Oh man. All this talk about Underdog, let's just hear from the boys.
Me and Shoeshine Boy?
No, bro. I mean the interviews recorded with Scott and Brent from Underdog.
Oh, that's ready for this episode?
Yeah, why wouldn't it be?
Oh, well, I don't know, just saying.
You crazy, man.
What do you mean?
Just forget it. Let's jump into it. Here's
All right,
Soundbox Reviews First Effect with Underdog, a supersonic rock band straight out of Beantown.
Beantown.
Greetings, gentlemen. Pleasure to meet you.
Hey,
Honor to have you on.
Thanks.
Welcome to the podcast.
honored to be here. Appreciate it.
You guys just had a show recently, the Block Party. How did that go?
Honestly, it was like the first time we've gotten to play live in about a year and a half, but it went, well for what it was, and kind of looking at it as a bit of a dress rehearsal for future club dates.
It was really good to be together as a group and trying to get through the songs and making noise together and
I feel like there was once a time where rock music was the forefront. Everybody went to concerts, Warped Tour,
The master genre amongst
Right.
them all.
Warped Tour, all these tours, all these festivals were just for the rock bands. And then
Yes.
over the last couple years, it went to hip hop, EDM, all this stuff.
R&B, everything else. Fusion
how-
of all these genres, yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you guys stay afloat? How do you guys stay motivated? How do you guys find those gigs?
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, we actually just got dealt another bit of bad news. The Middle East, which is pretty much a premier club here in the Boston area. It's actually over the river in Cambridge, but they're getting closed down. Realistically, this one club has like 4 active rooms, at least maybe 5 that have music going on it. So that's a significant blow to gigging musicians, and it's one of the places where, dare I say it, a rock band like us could find ourselves playing.
I would like to say that bands that are established and have a permanent lineup and are seeking gigs, I think a lot of them form alliances with one another. And so if there is an event or a club date that people can link up, and you know, if you can get a couple of bands on a bill or have an event that will allow, you know, 2 or 3 bands to show up, I think that's a good way to get things rolling. I think to me, a lot of it's I don't want to sound too corny, but it's like building like a little network or a little community. You know, if you can,
Right.
the more people you can interact with, I think that perhaps you have a better chance of, you know, being part of something. You know, a festival or a party or a club date or something.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Ether Dome. Tell us about the process of creating it. You know, how long did it take you, the studio process, stuff like that?
Well, I'll give you just a snapshot. So Dog says, well, I got some songs I want to work on or I want to record. And I said, hey, come over, let's see what we can do. And so he brings these songs over. He says, okay, here's the first song. It goes like this. Na, 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 na. No, 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 and I need a drum beat, and I got a bass part, and I got some lyrics, and I said, okay. So we broke out the Pro Tools, and we laid down a guide,
Right.
and then he threw down a vocal. So there we had something that guided us, and then I guess the next thing we do is throw down a drum part, and then he goes and puts a bass part on there, and then he said, okay, we need a lead guitar. So, 20 takes later, let's keep that one. That sounds good. And then, that's basically how we did the songs. The thing about what I insist upon doing is that I want a top-down performance. In other words, once the song begins, you're playing through the entire song. I'm not doing any punch-ins. I'm not editing my part.
Just want it to flow.
I just yeah. And plus, I like to listen to all kinds of different music, but in jazz in particular. And I think a lot of those old jazz recordings in the 50s, 60s, 50s and 60s. I think they would do like multiple takes of the same tune, and they were all together in the same room, and then they would choose like the best track. So those performances were like, okay, we're starting the tune, we go all the way through the tune, and we record it, and there's no punch-ins or overdubs and stuff like that. And so I kind of dig that kind of feel.
Question: you guys usually work in a way where you're building up the body of music, and then you're naming stuff as you go, or you oftentimes already have a song theme, an idea of what a song might be called, or just let's say you have the title of what you want your album to be, such as Ether Dome, and then you build it up.
It's definitely not any sort of like concept album, and I didn't sit there and think like, gee, these are the songs that need to be on the album. It's kind of, fortunately, a situation in this case where they were like the 12 songs that we managed to get recorded before we ended up having to go into hibernation. The title, honestly, the Ether Dome is a location. It's a place in Boston. It's the first place technically where ether was used for a operation. Actually, I wanted to take the cover photo of us in there because it's a kind of cool looking room, but you can go and take as many pictures as you want. You just can't publish them because it's
I see.
Oh, wow.
Whatever. So then we had to go find another somewhat cool, relevant image, and I didn't really know how I was going to come up with that, but we did, thanks to NASA. NASA, they were like really cool. Not only did they not charge us any money, I remember just saying, "Do you want us to credit you guys or anything?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, you could do that." And I was like, "Okay, that's pretty easy going." You'd figure for NASA, right? But the songs again were, I would love to say that we had it like well mapped out, and even the one that we're working on now, it's not necessarily well mapped out.
I like that approach because I sometimes feel too much structure or using too much, like in the case of like the new softwares, using all that or even over planning can like stifle the creativity.
The artistry of production has risen to such an incredible level that you can make this sonic landscape, and you're right. I think sometimes I find it like, wow, I've heard this sound a lot because it's what's trendy and hip in the production world today. And our thing isn't like that.
No. You don't have to name all of them, but let us know some of the influence, the bands or musicians or sounds that influence Etherdome.
To me, it's always interesting when I hear people, reference what the influences are. We've heard all sorts of stuff from people that have listened to the songs, and I'm thinking, I love those bands, but I don't hear any of that necessarily in the music. And it's people like, Iggy and the Stooges and the MC5, and people talking about London punk bands from the 70s, and it's all great stuff. I'm really heavy into 60s music. Bryn's talked already a lot about some of his, I think his musical influences are far broader than mine. I grew up playing classical music, so in some way there's that in there too.
But the sound of the band, I think, reflects the artists who are in the group. Because I mean, the way I play drums, is based upon how I've developed when I first started out as a kid, and all the experience I've had in the learning and the growth as a drummer, and also as a guitar player.
Pretty much traveling on the same vibe here, and it's nice because, I would say we're sort of like, with that thing of like 50% of what we're both into, and then that other 50% we're both bringing in all this other stuff. Again, I'm all about, the things like the bagpipes and the sitar, and he's definitely got a better foot in jazz and probably more like world music stuff.
You guys were talking about the perfection you guys aim for during the creation of music. And it reminds me of Stanley Kubrick and all the stories with Stanley Kubrick, how he does 1,000 takes and all that stuff. And if you look at Stanley Kubrick films, he's one of the greatest filmmakers. He's technical, he has all this energy and all that stuff. But I think part of it, what makes those films so great and what makes him so great, is that he stormed through the hardest parts of making the films. And so my question for you guys is, what were the hardest parts of making Etherdome, and how did you guys weather the storm?
The hardest part was getting a part that sounded cool.
It all sounds cool, man. Come on.
Yeah, and as much as I know, because we let off with that statement about being perfectionists, and I'm sure a lot of people would laugh listening to the record, because it is definitely not perfect in many, many ways, but there's a point where you just got to go, it's done.
This is what it was meant to be like.
Right. You could spend the rest of your life working on one song and it will still never be perfect.
You'll never be finished.
Right. My attitude.
You got to understand when to, all right, that was that. What's next?
Right. And, I think I may have consciously made the idea of like, let's keep these songs simple, because we don't need to be struggling with a whole lot of stuff simultaneously. Let's songs that we can really like get down quickly, execute fairly easily.
I just wonder if you guys want to share anything you're working on, if you want to talk more about the album that's coming up, anything that you want to talk about, use these last couple of minutes just to share it with us.
Sure. Well, again, we're hoping to have, as soon as possible to have, another album finished up. We're tentatively, again, using a title, Trans-Global Amnesia, which was just something
that sounds amazing. You guys with the album titles, you keep making us feel like we're in a sci-fi, just like, I don't know what. Because Etherdome already, we're like Etherdome. Yeah, now this? Come on.
Let's get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paramount Plus. This
This is strokes of genius, beautiful games, and one shining moment. This is Defenders, Investigators, and
7 strangers picked to live in a house.
this is Young SpongeBob, Young Sheldon, and younger. This is everything you've been looking for.
That's gonna leave a mark.
Live sports, breaking news, and a mountain of entertainment.
All right.
This is Paramount Plus, now streaming.
Yeah, so we're talking about Underdog's music and how they're so nostalgic. But I think something else that's really kind of crazy is that rock artists have to compete with a lot of other genres.
Mhm.
You talk about hip hop and you talk about EDM, for example. You talk about R&B, all these other genres. And at one point, I feel that rock music was number one. You know,
Mm.
people went out to see any type of rock song, rock music. And I think like rock music now may be struggling to compete with all that, even on social media. How do you
Yeah.
feel about it? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I'll put it this way. If we look at it like a big three situation, not even big three, but like let's say like music, we have classical, all the oldies, whatever, jazz, rock, rap, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Putting these as staples like pinnacles in music, arches that are showing like, oh, this is a peak. This is
Right.
like a high height, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying other music genres don't exist, but like when we're talking like really take over, everybody's listening to it, everybody wants a piece of it, right?
Mhm.
Most of these genres, they'll start off with a certain, base of people creating it, and then it'll evolve, it'll mutate over time. And the latest mutation of what rock music is, like, I'm not saying, all right, hip hop, rap is its own genre, but at the same time, we're thinking back, all right,
Mhm.
jazz, rock, if not for jazz and rock,
Mhm.
together, rap wouldn't exist. And then if we
Right.
look at rap and say, oh, now the rap artists are trying to either go more the conscious jazzy route and have like these loopy instrumentals that sound, really throwback with like these
Right.
crazy what do they call it when they do like the little samples and shit. And then rock within rap music now too, where a lot of these artists, they're going back and digging in their rock influence bag, and maybe they didn't come up that way, maybe they didn't feel that way, but then they're like, oh, like this is how to evolve it once again to let it come full circle.
I think that's one way rock music stays alive. I mean, you're talking about the pillars of music being classical, rap, rock, and jazz.
Mm,
And when you think about it, these genres or these movements are pillars because they can last a long time and they can, weather the storm or whatnot.
they
And
transcend.
and when hip hop started using jazz, they were going crazy. And then when Beastie Boys started using the wah pedal in their
Hmm.
turntables, people were going even more crazy.
They brought
So
the rock element back around to the hip hop genre.
you're right, and I think that's
There
um
never had to be a separation. It
mhm.
just was new ideas going through new minds and new faces and new generations re-emphasizing the push forward, that leap, you
So
know.
s- so there's no rap music, there's no rock music, there's just music.
When it comes to Underdog once again and the state of rock music, do you think some of their growth that can occur, like even as great as we think they are, just where they are, right?
Right.
Now, whether or not that's the right path for them, who knows, right? Only
Mhm.
history will tell
Mhm.
what their sound is if they evolve into a new sound.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
would really think that we would enjoy seeing what they would make if they weren't making the music they're making. I don't know, do something like what the Doors did. Put some little sprinkle background music like You in the Rain, Riders on the Storm. Like,
What I would enjoy is for them to experiment like I know they can with the sounds they enjoy, right? So Bren enjoys listening to. Bren is very eclectic. He likes to listen to like Indian sounds, and he likes to listen to all these other sounds. And Scott, he likes, he has the classical background. He was telling us that he played in the drum line. So like they have this knowledge of all these instruments that they can play
So
between
bring
them.
back the roots and recompute
Right.
it into a new, you know.
And Scott was talking about OG Pink Floyd with Sid at the helm being one of his inspirations. And when you go back to OG
Mm,
Pink Floyd, man, that's all they were doing, right? They were experimenting with
mm,
synths. They were experimenting with all these background sounds. And I think you're right. Like, I think maybe that would be cool. Just like, yo, throw a bonus track in there that's 8 minutes long with a little orchestral background, all done by Scott
yeah.
and Bryn.
Have a spoken word
Right.
poetry segment and just have the classical piano or some type of like, low key drum beat going and just see what comes out.
No, they're just. I think you're right, and we're talking about the state of rock music, and it's not dead when you have artists like Underdog
Hmm.
still alive. And I was
As long as there's people still in the genre, still creating the music genre appropriate, then nothing is dead. It's, you know,
Mhm.
just trying to make it sound cool, man.
So man, yeah, we talked about Underdog. You know, we met the guys, really really dope dudes.
Hmm.
We talk about their musicality. We talked about There Goes the Neighborhood and their first album, Ether Dome. I mean, we even touched base on where they stand in rock music and where they stand in contemporary times.
Yeah, we covered a bunch of stuff.
With all that, it's time to give them some boom boxes. Give them a rating.
Hmm.
I'll give them a 4.5. Um,
See, that's what I was gonna do.
so it's unanimous.
Mm.
4.5 for There Goes the Neighborhood and for Eat the Dome the album. My reason for it is I just know there can be more, and not in a bad way,
Mm.
but they can do more in their sound, in their experimentation, and everything they're doing. And I almost feel the next album, if they give us the pleasure to review it, it's going to be a 5, no doubt.
Mhm.
Because just talking to the guys, you can tell they learned a lot from this first album.
Yeah, definitely 4.5 is a strong boombox, grade. And one day we'll have that perfect score from them. Like we know it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's all about just keeping at it, keeping the pedal to the metal.
Exactly. Make sure you guys go to underdog.rocks, check out their website. Make sure you go there. You can check out some videos. They have links to their YouTube, their Facebook. You can connect with them. You can book them as well. Also, a great thing they have on that website that they don't have on a lot of musicians don't have on their website is lyrics. So you can pull up their lyrics while you're listening to their song. But yeah, check out Underdog. And while you're checking out Underdog, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and love us. Soundbox Reviews.
What's not to love? We're lovable guys.
We'll love you guys back.
All right, so you already know Blair Timothy Kerr, your boy, aka the Arsonist. And you can follow me at Arson, that's ARSENX_27 on Instagram, amongst other things. You know where to find it. And I have an art book, Cop It, which has been out for some time now. Actually, predates Doomsday 2012 craze, all that shit. You should pick it up, Cop It. 100 plus pages worth of art, you know where to find it. Get that on Amazon. Blair T. Kerr Art. Cop it. The end.
Yo, it's the kid. It's your boy. It's Bally, the fraud mastermind. You know, Bolivar T. Caceres. And you guys can find me at Bolivar T Caceres on social media. Check out my poetry, my artwork, all that I'm doing at btcart.co. And if you like some poetry, you can buy my poetry book Outside My Garret Window, available on Amazon. Bolivar T Caceres.
Cop it.
It's $9.99.
Cop it.
It's a great buy. Got some cool art in it as well.
Cop it. You know where to find it.
But yeah, thank you for listening to Soundbox. We always appreciate your time, your ears, and peace, love.
This
everything under the
episode
sun.
brought to you
Take care.
by Yin Yang Productions, where order and chaos creates art. By Yin Yang Productions, balance delivered.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed Season 1, Episode 4 on There Goes the Neighborhood by Underdog. We enjoyed creating this episode for you all. In the comments below, tell us what you think about Underdog, and tell us your thoughts on their album Etherdome, available at underdog.rocks. If you have a song you want us to review, DM us at Twitter, Soundbox Reviews, that's box with an O. We also provide interviews, so reach out, and we'll help out. Make sure to check out our website for all your musical review needs at soundbox-review at blogspot.com. And please, like, subscribe, follow, share, care, love, hold us in your arms. Until next time, my friends, take care.